I'm going to show you guys how I made this cow foot soup. It is a Jamaican dish and it is bomb. And yes, I said cow foot. So you're going to get you some cow foot and you're going to clean it off really well. You know, get in there with some lime and vinegar, whatever you got to do. And then you're going to put it in a pot to boil. I let it boil for about an hour before I even attempt to add anything else to the pot, because this is a tough piece of meat. And I also add some pimento seeds to start flavoring it. You're going to stir it around just to make sure that it doesn't stick to the bottom. Then you're gonna get some pumpkin. I just cut my pumpkin in half like that and I de-seed it, and then I get all that extra like gook out. I think it's easier to peel the pumpkin if it is cut into slices. So I cut it like this and I use a peeler, find the edge and just keep peeling it off. You can use a knife, but sometimes that takes too much of the meat out and you wanna obviously save as much pumpkin as possible. So once that's all chopped up, I clean it one more time and then I add it to my pot. As you can see, the meat started to kind of cook. It's releasing that fat, which is good. We're just going to continue to let it cook. Then you're going to get all your veggies and you're going to clean and cut them. So you're going to start off with some carrots. Then you're going to do some radish. Then you're going to do some chayote. I could be saying that wrong, but the Jamaicans call it chocho. So, hey. And then in a separate bowl, you're going to do the potatoes, because the potatoes go like last. They cook so quick and you don't want them to mush. And then I love corn, so I'm going to do a whole bunch of corn. And back to your pot. Once your pumpkin is soft, you can stick a fork completely through it. You're going to remove the pumpkin only. You're going to leave the meat and as many pimento seeds as you possibly can. And you're just going to put it in a separate bowl because we're going to mash it out. Now, I use a masher, like a potato masher, when I'm being lazy, but other times I will use a blender. That is probably the most efficient way. But too, if you like chunks of pumpkin in your soup, then just mash it out like me. Today, I'm lazy. I don't want as many dishes, so I'm going to use a masher. And it's okay if you got some of the pimento seeds out. I was like second guessing if I should go pull that out or just leave it. But honestly, the pumpkin, I don't know why I keep wanting to call it potato. The pumpkin was so soft, I didn't have to apply that much pressure. So I knew it wasn't going to break and like ruin it, which I will show you guys later. So you're just going to continue to mash that out until you get basically all the main chunks out. And then you just kind of give it like little small like beats so that it can kind of like all mash out. And then you're going to slowly add that to the pot. Don't just go dump that bowl, because then it's going to splash everywhere. So I'm going to sift it in there. And as you can see, I didn't break any of the pimento seeds. Once all of your pumpkin's in, you're going to give it a nice mix to get everything all blended up, and you're going to continue to let that cook. So at this point, you have your cow foot, your pimento, and your pumpkin, and then I'm going to go ahead and add the corn so that that can be nice and soft as well, because we're going to let this pot go for a little bit. Give that a nice mix, and you're gonna let that kind of rest for a few minutes. I let that kind of come to like a boil. The meat is gonna take a while to cook because it's tough, so don't rush the process. Whatever you do, just take your time. As you can see, the meat is starting to get soft, it's starting to cook. You want the meat to be really, really tender. You don't want no tough meat. You think you know what you're doing?
Mm-hmm.
No, you don't.
I can do exactly what you're doing. All I gotta do is follow instructions. Go for it. It'll be better. Mine's, I know right now I'm not even ready to taste it. Look at the pumpkin mashed down. Pumpkin still out. That's not eating this.
I leave the pot for 1 second and he swear he cooked the meal. But anyways, now you're gonna season the pot. So I'm gonna add a half a green bell pepper, some scallion, some people call it scallion, some people call it green onion, some thyme, and you're gonna put a habanero pepper. And then you're just gonna kind of like, you know, give that a nice little mix and let the aromas get all in there. And this is when the pot, in my personal opinion, starts to smell real good. And don't be like me and completely dump your green bell pepper. I had to bring it back out because I like it to sit on the surface, because if it gets too soft, it just breaks apart and it's in the soup, and I just don't like that. So let the pot rumble for a little bit. In the meantime, in between time, you're gonna prep your dumplings. So you're just gonna take a whole bunch of flour, maybe about a cup or two, and then you're gonna take some softened cube butter. With your clean hands, you're just gonna kind of get it all mixed up together until it's like completely blended in with the flour. And I take my time. This is not something that you can rush. Like, you really have to take your time with this. Otherwise it's just not going to come out right, like the texture and anything like that. So just take your time and I just mash my hands together like that until it's completely combined. This did take me a few minutes, but obviously eventually everything was nice and it flowed just perfectly. So then once you have that done, you're gonna get you a cup of cold water and you're gonna pour it in, and then you're just gonna give it a nice mix. Some people go straight in with their hands. I literally hate that feeling of just wet than flour. Like, having that first mix, I don't know, something about the feeling just really kills me. I don't mind kneading the dough, but that first water and flour, I can't do it. So I'm gonna completely kind of make sure all of the flour is absorbed in some water, not all the way, because you want to kind of leave some room to like knead. Otherwise you're just going to be having to add more flour later, and you'll see what I mean. So most of the flour is absorbed by water, but there's still a little flour left. This is the best way I can describe it, honestly. And then you're just gonna slowly but surely just fold each side in. Just fold each side in and just knead it out. And I promise you, all of that loose flour will eventually fold in and you will have a ball of dough. Trust the process. This is one of those trust the process type of things. Just like that, you have a ball of dough. The bowl is cleaned and is soft to the touch. You're gonna set that aside and you're gonna let it rest. We're gonna circle back around to that pot. So I'm gonna stir it up. It is nice and bubbly. The habanero is swollen. The bell pepper is getting soft. I'm going to add in our veggies that we chopped up. So that was in a separate bowl. I'm gonna go ahead and add that because you're gonna want those to cook. You didn't want it to cook from the very beginning because these do get really soft. And sometimes just stirring the pot will mash these vegetables up. And honestly, at that point, it's not soup. It's like cow foot mash. So I'm gonna give it a nice stir, and then I'm gonna kind of let that come to a little simmer, and I'm gonna prep some more seasonings. So these are the Grace seasoning packets. I'm gonna use a pumpkin, and then there's the two options of chicken or cock. If somebody knows the difference between the chicken and the cock one, can you please let me know? I don't know. I haven't figured it out. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Today I'm going with the chicken. So I've learned my lesson from just dumping these seasoned packets in here. So I put it over like a strainer and then I go to sift it, but dumb swept the strainer at the bottom so it got wet, and obviously wasn't going to sift because it got thick. So then I'm just going to kind of go around that area, shaky, get all the powder, which is mainly the seasoning, out, and you're left with these noodles. Then you're going to dump them, and then I had to figure out a way how to not waste any seasoning and obviously get that out without taking half of the pumpkin out of the pot with me. But, you know, you figure it out. And then I got smart the second time. I put it in a smaller one and I just figured it out. This was how it was supposed to go. But for some reason, this one was clumped up. So I was over it and I just dumped it in there and I just gave it a nice stir. So once you put the noodles in, you are going to want to like kind of periodically stir this a little more often because the noodles will stick to the bottom of the pot. And then once that burnt taste is in the pot, at that point, just throw the whole pot away, boo. Put that to the side, let that come to a simmer, and then you're gonna prep your dumpling. I will show you guys on another video because I didn't have my tripod. So this is all by hand, and you're just gonna dump that in the boiling pot, and just one by one. I just dump them all as much as I can in first, and then I stir later. Don't know what happened right here. But you're going to continue to dump your last dumpling in there, and then you're just going to give it a nice stir. Gentle, because now everything is in the pot. You don't want to be rough. So then you're just going to, gently, slowly stir that together and let everything come to a boil. Once the veggies and the dumpling are basically done, then we're going to add in the potatoes because the potatoes get really, really soft really, really fast. So then you're just going to give that a nice little stir. And I just let this simmer. I don't even cook it on medium like I've been cooking this whole time. I just let that simmer for a little bit until basically the potatoes are done. And of course, I did not get a final of the full pot, but this is halfway through after like 10 bowls were made. But as you can see, once the noodles and everything cooked, I think that the dumpling personally thickens the pot, but everything looks so good. Everything tasted so good. This was my bowl. I love corn, so I'm gonna add some corn. I'm gonna make sure I get some meat. I love me a good dumpling. And you gotta have the cow foot. I like the hollow bones. If you know, you know. And this, my dear, was the final result. And it did not disappoint. I needed an extra little soupy. This definitely did not disappoint. You guys have to try it. Don't shy away from the cow foot. It's bomb.